When it comes to sharing the gospel, do you have serious anxiety? Do you dread the thought? Do you think, man, Christianity would be awesome if I didn't have to do that? Like, I know I've had those thoughts. I've felt that way. Let me ask you this. When it comes to sharing the gospel, what do you picture that looks like? Do you picture a bullhorn on a street corner or talking to complete random strangers? The first time I ever shared the gospel was on a subway car in New York City, and it was terrifying. Is that what we mean when we talk about sharing or preaching the gospel? What if I told you that it doesn't have to look that way? Sure, there's a time and a place for street evangelism, but what if I told you that sharing the gospel starts first and foremost with a gospel conversation? Sean McDowell is the professor of Christian apologetics at Biola University, and he says that sharing the gospel is deeply relational. He says if we mess up the relational aspect, our message rarely matters. See, sharing the gospel begins first and foremost with relationships. God stepped into humanity to become one of us. He built relationships. He had conversations. He lived in our sinful world, observed our lives, and spoke truth in grace. If we're going to share the gospel like Jesus, we have to be willing to step into people's worlds, their sinful worlds, to build relationships and have conversations. We have to be willing to speak the truth in grace. And so how do we do this? Sean McDowell gives 4 questions to ask in order to engage in good conversations. And I love these questions. The first is, ask people, man, what do you believe? When you ask this question, ask it genuinely. Ask it because you really want to know what they believe. Ask it without an agenda. There's nothing worse than asking this question in order to get to your response. Proverbs 18:2 says that a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his own opinion. Do not be that guy. Remember, if you mess up the relational aspect, your message rarely matters. Get to know the person. What do they believe about Jesus, who Jesus is? What do they believe about Christianity or politics or anything for that matter? And again, when you ask this question, resist the urge to become defensive. You're just gathering information. Remember, if you mess up the relational aspect, your message rarely matters. The goal here is to learn what's most important to the person. What do they believe about literally anything? Let them talk. Show them that you care about what they believe. The next question you ask is this: why do you believe what you believe? You've figured out what they believe. Now you want to know why they believe what they believe. You want to get to the heart of the issue here. Ask questions like, what people influenced them the most? What experiences most shaped you? What are your past hurts? Most importantly, what do they believe, or what do they think that Christians actually believe? When you ask this question, again, resist the urge to become defensive. You're just gathering information. If you mess up the relational aspect, your message rarely matters. And then we want to ask the question, where do we agree? Sean McDowell says that common ground humanizes people. Where do we agree on our interests and our hobbies? Again, you're looking for common ground. What are their likes and dislikes? Where do we agree on moral issues like racism or spiritual issues? Do they believe Jesus was a good teacher? Can we agree on that? Find as much common ground as you possibly can and see their humanity and let them see yours. This is key. And then we want to ask the question, where do we differ? After you've gathered the information, learned about the person, built the relationship, and asked good questions and found helpful common ground, then and only then can you tackle questions about where we differ. Here we ask people, where do you think we differ in our beliefs? That question allows them to open the door. They probably don't know the difference, and so they'll ask you, well, I don't know. What do you believe about this or that? This is your opportunity to share the gospel. This is your opportunity to clarify the differences in beliefs and why you differ in those beliefs. sharing the gospel is all about building relationships. It's about asking good questions and listening to the answers to those questions. It's about finding common ground and clarifying differences. It's about stepping into someone else's world so that you can apply the gospel right there.